Moving on now, we encounter this phrase in the solo. So, quite a lot going on here, and we also see green shift momentarily to the A minor pentatonic scale and outside of that A major pentatonic framework. Specifically, that's when he moves to the 13th fret on the B string and bends that up, because that note appears in the third shape of the A minor pentatonic scale, not in this shape that we've been predominantly playing up to this point. We'll talk a little bit more about the theory of that in the improvisation section of this course and how to improvise and approach that. But for now, let's get to grips with this kind of really beautiful and quite complex phrase. We're going to start with this kind of bouncing back and forth between the G string, the 11th fret on the G string with the middle finger, and the 10th fret on the B string with the first finger, like this. So we start on the 11th, we go up to the 10th fret on the B string, back to the 11th. That's how that little phrase ends. Now is when we step out of the major pentatonic framework for a second. We're going to go to the 13th fret on the B string, and I would recommend executing this as a 4-finger bend. So you're going to put your little finger on that 13th fret, and you're going to have the other 3 fingers behind you supporting that bend. That's a real crucial point. Whenever you're bending, you always want to have the other fingers really there to kind of help out, because if you don't, and you just try and push up with one finger, especially the little finger, which is always the runt of the litter, it's really, really challenging to do. So you're going to put your fingers in that way, with the little finger on the 13th fret, the other fingers behind it, and you're going to bend up as follows. So you're bending up a tone and hitting that pitch at the 15th fret on the B string. That's the note that you're aiming for. Now there's a couple of different ways that you can articulate this next section. I'm going to show you my personal favorite, but there's a couple of different options depending on what resonates most with you and you think works well, and also what is most comfortable for you. The way that I play this section is I cut that bend at the top, so I don't allow that 13th fret to come down. I cut it at the top. I then move, so I lift that little finger off, and I bring the hand down so that now you're kind of starting with the string in a neutral position rather than a bent position. You're then going to lift that little finger off, and you're going to just execute a semitone bend. So this time just pushing up to the 13th fret, and this time the bend is going to come up and down like this. So it's just a little inclination of the fingers and then bringing it back down to the starting point. So in the way that I play it, it sounds and looks as follows. It's quite a challenging movement there because you're cutting the bend at the top, using a little piece of your picking hand to kind of make that happen, dropping onto the strings. You're then resetting the hand as you do so, lifting the little finger and then executing that little bend. So there's quite a lot going on there, a high density of technique. But that to me is kind of what sounds and works best. However, if that should be too challenging, or if you should wish to try something else, you can stick on the 13th fret, so stick on that original bend, and instead of just cutting it at the top, you can execute an idea like this. So again, this is not really, a hugely easier option. There's still some complexity in the bend, but what we're doing here, we're bending up to the top in that initial same movement, then we're letting it come down a bit, and then we're bending back up again slightly. So you get this kind of up to the top, down, and then back up a little bit. And that recreates a similar idea. And you sort of bring that down to finish before moving on to the next note, which is the 10th fret on the B string here. So if we compare the two versions, we've got version 1. version 2. Give both a go, see what works well for you, see what resonates more with you. I prefer the first one. I think it sounds a bit closer to the original, and I think it also helps to bring up some pretty cool skills with controlling the bends, making those micro movements, thinking about dropping the picking hand onto the string, all of which is very challenging and frustrating in the beginning, but plays a real kind of crucial role, in your development as a lead blues guitar player. But by all means, try the other way as well. Sounds great. Also will help to develop your bending skills, sort of controlling the pitch of the bend and altering it as you go. So that is an absolutely valid option as well. Definitely something to try. And we've resolved that idea down to the 10th fret on the B string. To finish this little bit off, we're going to drop down to the 11th fret on the G string with the middle finger. And then we're going to jump straight back up to the 10th fret on the B string, like this. Now, instead of dropping back down to the 11th fret on the G string, we're going to go to the 12th fret on that B string with the third finger, and we're going to play that note once. And then we're going to execute a little bend. So again, this is sort of a semitone bend to take us slightly or momentarily out of the major pentatonic into the minor pentatonic, targeting that 13th fret, which appears in that minor pentatonic scale. We're going to hit that note, so you're going to hit the bend, let it go up, come down, and then you're going to release all in one movement by pulling off to the 10th fret on the B string. So that little last bit is... Again, we're finishing on that tonic note, nice little bit of smooth vibrato just to breathe some life into it. When we put all of that together, we've got this. And when we put it on the back of everything that we've done so far, it looks and sounds like this. So, some beautiful ideas, significantly all of which are happening in this very compact box shape. Now, understanding how you can navigate and maximize the ideas in a very small section of the fretboard is a key skill that is so useful as a blues guitar player for all the reasons I've already mentioned. Not about learning more and more complex scales, more complex ideas, although that is definitely useful. It's about maximizing what we already have to make it sound as wonderful as this introductory solo sounds. But the slight challenge there is, even though we are using the same notes, it's very easy to get tripped up, to kind of recall or get the phrases crossed over because they're all in that same area, they're all based around the same bundle of notes. So, once you feel comfortable playing each of these phrases individually, with the articulation, bringing them to life in the way that I've spoken about, and you then feel comfortable piecing them all together, playing the intro solo through from start to finish without kind of relying at and looking under tabs, head over to the next lesson where we'll look at the penultimate phrase and dig into this solo in a little bit more depth. See you over there.